Hello BookTube, my name is Elizabeth and welcome to Book Babble. Today is Vlogmas Day 12 and today I'm going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks to read more books in the new year. So I've read about 130 books this year and I'm on track to read 150. So I think I did pretty good on my reading goals this year and using some of these tips and tricks to read as much as I could in the new year. So let's just get started. The very first tip I want to give to you guys is to set realistic goals. Now, last year I did not set any goals for myself, but I just read whenever I got the chance and read whatever I wanted, and I read about 90 books, and I hadn't started reading until the middle of the year, like July. I didn't start like reading as an active hobby, a book or two a week until I started BookTube back in August. So reading 90 books in just about a 6-month period, I felt pretty confident that I could read 150 books in 2015, and I'm on track to do that. So that was a realistic goal for me. But if you guys only read 1 book a month or 2 books a month and you want to increase your number to 25 or 30 books in the year, that is a realistic goal for you. If you guys work full time, go to school full time, and you just don't have the time to read like I do, I have a very flexible work schedule and I don't go to school or anything like that, so I have the time to read 150 books in the year. But if you don't, that is completely and totally okay. Because if you usually read 30 to 40 books a year, and then you set a goal to read 100, then you're going to wear yourself out and you're going to get discouraged and you're not going to accomplish the goal that you wanted to. So setting realistic goals is an easy way to feel proud of yourself. And if you usually read 20 books in a year and you want to read more, set your goal at 20. And if you meet that goal, set a new goal. And if you meet that goal, then set another one, and so on and so forth. That will really give you the inspiration and the confidence to know that you can continuously meet a goal and exceed it and move on to another new goal. And I think that's something that's really important. Last year I had a goal of like 50 and then I moved it up to 75, and I had met that and I ended up reading I think 80 or 90 books. I don't remember exactly the number, but I had set a small goal for myself, exceeded that one, set another one and exceeded that one, and it gave me the confidence to read more and know that I can do the goals that I set out to do for myself. The next tip that I have for you guys is to always have a book on you handy. I usually have 3 different types of books on me at all times: a print book, an audiobook, and an ebook. And I always carry my print book, here, let me put it this way. I always carry my print book in a backpack. It's like really dirty, I'm sorry, but I switched from like small purses to these like tote book bags, and I won this one on a giveaway, and I've been using it for a while now because it fits everything that I need, and no matter how big the book I'm reading, it always fits it. And it might be a little bit big and bulky, but at least you're not trying to fit a big book into a little purse, which is what I was doing beforehand. I always also have an audiobook on hand, and usually the way that I do audiobooks is one of 2 ways. The first one is the most common that I do, and I have CD audiobooks that I rent from the library in my car at all times, so that I have the CD in there, and if I don't feel like listening to music, I just put the CD on and I listen to my audiobook. And my commute is only about 5 minutes away from my work and the store and anywhere that I normally go. My commute is a very short one, so it takes me a while to get through an audiobook. But if you guys have like a 30 or 40 minute commute to school or work or something, listening to an audiobook in the car is really essential, because you can really get through 1 or 2 audiobooks in a month if you listen to it on your commute to work, if you have a 30-minute commute, because that's an hour both ways. And that could equal out to up to 24 books in a year, and that's a pretty substantial number if you're only reading 20 by yourself, and if just print form. Another way that you can listen to audiobooks is if your car has like a audio jack. Mine does not, which is why I do CDs. If my car had an audio jack, I would be listening to so many more audiobooks because it would be a lot more convenient, because I could use the Overdrive app, and I don't have the Overdrive app on my phone right now, or else I would show it to you. I just don't use it because my car doesn't have an audio jack and I don't have the room for it. But you just download the Overdrive app, put in your library information, put in your library card. Most libraries in the United States use Overdrive, but you'll have to check with yours to see if they do. Usually that information is on the library website, and you just look through the list of audiobooks that they have available and rent what you want and listen to it. You could also listen to it using your headphones. You don't necessarily have to do it with your audio jack. So to and from work, or while you're working out or walking the dog, or any of those things, is definitely an option to listen to audiobooks. I always have an audiobook available to listen to in the car if I want to. And the last type of book that I always have with me is an ebook. I use the Kindle app because it is the most convenient. I love the Kindle app. You know, a lot of people use like e-readers, but my phone is actually like on the small side. It's definitely not very big. It's like smaller than the size of my hand, you know, and I am extremely comfortable with reading ebooks on my phone. Like, I used to be the type of person that was like, no, I need an e-reader, but then that's just something else you have to carry. You always have your phone on you, and ebooks are actually pretty cheap to read. Most of my ebooks actually come from Netgalley, which is why like none of these have covers, but I have some back here that I actually bought. And the Amazon and Kindle and stuff, they have deals all of the time for print books. I don't think I spent more than $3 on any of these books that I have back here. They were all on sale when I got them. And if you guys are like waiting for, you know, waiting in line at the doctor's office, or, you know, just in those in between moments where you're just waiting, you can pull out your print book or pull out your ebook if you don't feel like carrying your print book with you, and always have something to read. And that, using those three techniques, I have read a lot more than I did last year. My next tip is to read at least a minimum of 20 pages a day. If you're like most people, you are always busy. You know, you've got kids or school or work or all three, and you just rarely have time to read. And by the time bedtime comes around, you literally just want to sleep. But I would highly recommend at least reading 20 pages a day. If it's coming to bedtime and you just haven't had a chance to read at all, set aside 10 minutes to read 20 pages so that you can at least make some sort of progress in the book that you are reading. If I didn't get a chance to read all day, I always make it a point to sit down or to lay down in bed with my husband, and we each read a book for 5 or 10 minutes before we go to bed so that we can make some progress in the books that we are reading. And, you know, it's like I said, it's just minimal. It's only 20 pages, but 20 pages every single day will be enough progress to read a book. And hopefully you guys are reading more than just 20 pages a day, but if you can't read actively for an hour or 2 hours a day, then at least set aside 10 to 20 minutes at night before you go to bed, or in the morning after you wake up if you are a morning bird. Sometimes I do that while I'm eating breakfast or something like that. I will read in the morning if I know that my day is going to be busy and I won't have time to do it for the rest of the day. So a minimum of 20 pages or 20 minutes, I would recommend you to do if you are just really busy and you don't have time to read a lot. My last tip for you guys, and probably the most important, is don't commit to a book that you don't want to read. I interviewed Maria V. Snyder a couple of months ago, and I mean, she's an author and she gets asked to read books all the time. And she said if she reads the first 50 pages of a book and it hasn't caught her, she asks herself, if the main characters died right now, today, would I care? If the answer is no, she puts the book down and she moves on. And I think that's a really great tip. I think a lot of people, they pick up a book that they wanted to read, they realize that they're not liking it, but they feel obligated to finish. And you are absolutely in no way obligated to finish a book that you do not like. If you have read the first 50 pages and you're hating it, put it down and move on. Because in my experience, if I feel obligated to read a book and finish it, afterwards I get into a slump and I don't feel like reading, and I just have a very negative opinion about reading for like the week after I force myself to read a book. So if I'm not enjoying a book after the first 50 pages, I just put it down and put it away. Now, when it comes to reviewing books, I will commit to at least 50% of that book. Another rule that I have for myself, and mostly this came from doing so many review books, is if I read 50% or more of a book, I will mark it as read on Goodreads towards my reading goal. That's something that I do for myself. In the beginning, I had like this feeling that I was cheating because I wasn't actually finishing the book, but I, marked it as read mostly for my own records, and I use that towards my reading goal because I use the reading goal on Goodreads as my reading goal, that I just have it in one place. And so, I mean, if you are not liking a book after 50 pages, put it down. If you're reading a book and you've gotten through half and you realize that you want to put it down, mark it as read on Goodreads and, add it to your reading goal and move on. And that's the rule that I use. As long as you read more than 50%, you can add it to your goal on Goodreads and have it as one of the books that you've read this year, even though you didn't finish the whole thing. I believe if you finished at least half, you should be able to mark it as read. But that's really it for my tips on how to read more this year. If you guys have any tips of your own that I didn't mention in this video, please let me know down below in the comments. I always am up for new reading tips and tricks that I can use to read more in the new year. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!